Ja, liebe Festgäste.
Well, esteemed guests,
Liebe Festgäste, Unerschrockenheit,
esteemed guests,
Teamgeist
intrepidity, team spirit, and the joy of competition make people perform at their very best, very much like the winning team that you can see behind me. They won the world's first autonomous multi-vehicle motorsport race in Abu Dhabi this year. With their fully automated racing car, they were able to prevail against a number of international teams without a human driver and without remote control. All the teams had identical racing cars, identical technologies, sensors, cameras, and computers. They were superior thanks to their AI software, with which they chased this car through the bends at speeds of up to 250 kilometers per hour. So, congratulations to the TUM Autonomous Motorsport team and the doctoral students and postdocs that you can see here. Our professors Markus Blume, Johannes Beetz, and Prof. Lohmann. Congrats to this wonderful team. Markus Blume is also one of the driving forces behind our Munich cluster for the future of mobility, MQ. Many of you are aware of this. 80 players in the mobility sector, from science, from the business world, the city of Munich, administration and civil society are working together to render Munich a pioneer for the mobility of the future. The MQ team has packed precisely this software into this car, into this shuttle, and tested it under extreme conditions, Minister. We were both there around the Oktoberfest. As you can imagine, we were surrounded by the thousands of Oktoberfest guests, countless taxis, rickshaws and cyclists who don't respect any traffic lights anyway and who are also traveling quite erratically at this time of the year. A real endurance test which the Edgar passed with flying colors. I would like to thank the teams led by Professor Lienkamp and Professor Alto for pulling off this feat. Facta non verba.
Facta non verba, Taten statt Worten.
Facta non verba, actions instead of words. And this also applies to today. This is the motto of this Dies Academicus, to which I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. And I'm delighted to see that so many of you have come here. There's nothing better than enjoying a university holiday like this together. I would like to welcome the many guests of honor and, of course, the Minister of State for Science and the Arts, Markus Blume. Mr. Blume, thank you for honoring us for the first time. But thank you also for the support you and your ministry have given us at the TUM throughout the year. Mr. Eberle, Mr. Schmidt, I've also seen you today, so thank you for this great support. I'm also delighted to see that the presidents, vice presidents, and chancellors of other universities are assembled here today. I would like to welcome our President Emeritus, Wolfgang Herrmann. Wolfgang, it's great to have you here again. I'd like to welcome the representatives of foundations, scientific academies and societies. I would like to welcome the consuls generals who are here today, the mayors and district councillors, the members of the local parliaments, the Bavarian state parliament, and the representatives of the business community and the university communities. Despite challenging times, and this is the nice thing you can say at the end of year, we have again broken records in practically all areas today and this year also. We are now amongst in the top 30 worldwide. In two rankings we're number 26 and 28. We've moved up 17 spots internationally in the last 5 years. We're now one of the truly top level global universities, even if we still have some way to go. We've exceeded our values, the previous values, in terms of third-party funding, publication citations everywhere. And in terms of students, we have 40% more applicants than in 2019. Now we've got 53,000 students. We're no longer the small-scale university in Munich, but we're on a par with our sister university in terms of student numbers. despite or perhaps because of tuition fees. Now, this is your success, the success of our wonderful university community. That is why I'd like to welcome you, the members of the University Council, the Senate, the Board of Trustees, the professors, the members of the extended executive board, the deans, vice presidents. I would like to welcome the students because you are the heartbeat of this university. The many employees, no matter where you work, because you're so important for the functioning of this university. I've seen that the senior excellence faculty is represented in large numbers, those who are young at heart, who constantly give us new courage and new visions, and the many founders, and their number keeps increasing. I'd like to thank you for your passion, for the flexibility that you always must have, because times have become incredibly fast and we must remain agile and flexible, and that is why I would like to thank particularly the many people who look at TUM from the outside to support us, the patrons of honor, the committed donors and patrons, I'll name a few later, the generous supporters who on the one hand help us in those times to gain additional stability in these times, but on the other hand also give us the necessary agility to set new future-oriented accents. And that is also the success of our partners' international alliances. Our guest today is a tireless supporter of our activities in Singapore. My cordial welcome goes to our guest, support and friend, Professor Lam Kin Yong, Vice President of the Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. Welcome. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to the representative of our dedicated students, Johannes Boss, who will address us on behalf of the students later on. He himself studies political science at the Munich School of Public Policy, which will be celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year. I think it's in about 2 weeks' time. Since the point in time they were transferred to our university sponsorship, so to speak. We academically affiliated the HFP to the TUM School of Social Sciences and Technology, and it's not only become a truly valued jewel of our university, but also one of our supporting pillars as a socially responsible university. Because our times are different now. They are characterized by discontinuities, by disruption, by many uncertainties in terms of the economy, finance, policy or politics, geopolicy and society. And this is exacerbated by the increasingly crumbling trust in science and also in politics, which in many places in this world is also increasingly decoupling itself from scientific facts. And this encourages the erosion of democracy. And that is why I believe that we as a university must continue to be a trusted reference for our country and bear responsibility for all important issues of national importance or international relevance. We need to take the dialogue between science and technology much further into politics and society. We need to be even less of an ivory tower than we already are, and much more of a truly open university that also understands society as a whole and helps to shape the broader context of our living environment. That is the task of a sustainable university. And as always, this change starts up here in our heads, and that determines our appointment policy. A total of 234 appointments in the last 5 years. We're becoming increasingly international and female. We've placed particular emphasis on the focus on society-centered innovation. The number of professors in this faculty in this new TUM School of Social Sciences and Technology has increased by 80% to 54. And this is tied in, because we're not standing here in isolation. We combined it integratively with the technical and scientific profile of the TUM think tank, which I think has developed excellently, or the new Friedrich Schiedel Fellowship for Technology in Society, or take the TUM IRS, our Philosophy in Residence program at TUM, and the new Master's program in Data and society starting next winter semester or term. On a comparable percentage basis, we've expanded other areas such as bioengineering, health, plus 80%, intelligent systems, new space and mission Earth, and sustainability transformation. At this point, I would like to particularly thank my appointment team and the hundreds, truly, really hundreds of committee members who have worked tirelessly over the years to make these appointments possible. And it's paid off, as many of you have helped us to further strengthen our success in competitive ERC grants. This year alone, 21 ERC grants, and we actually doubled our ERC grants in the last 5 years to a total of 237 grants in 5 years. And what I'm very pleased about is that with a success rate of 25%, our scientists are more or less 100% above the European average, so to speak. So it's really worthwhile applying from our community because you are twice as successful as the rest of the average. Beyond this individual excellence, we are increasingly working on alliances. We want to become even more collaborative. This is reflected in SFBs and Transregios, in which we are currently involved, which is up 35% from 2019. This also shows the commitment that we've made through the excellent strategy and the TUM Agenda 2030 with schools and everything that goes with it. And we're also rendering our students capable of joining forces. With the TUM Factory, we are creating a workshop for student initiatives. From the end of 2026, our students will have unique opportunities to realize and implement their visionary ideas and hone their system integration skills, build complex technical prototypes, and then enter those in international competitions. We have been motivated to do this by the many successes of our TUM student clubs. Over the past 6 years, our students have won 10 global student competitions. And I think that's worth a round of applause for a start. These are teams like the War Group, like Hyperloop, like Boring, like Too Fast Echo, or iGEM. All these groups, over 8,000 students out of 53,000. Well, there's some room for improvement, but still 8,000 students are involved in 180 TUM student clubs today, extracurricularly. Not because they have to, because they want to. And we're currently in the process of finding ways to make these activities, which take place outside the lecture theaters, as well as these credits, relevant. Students, we will set the course for this in the coming years. I actually see in students like these what our country so urgently needs today. If you look outside, people lack the creative drive, innovative strength, and entrepreneurial fearlessness, so that we dare to do things again, because after all, who should we support if not these young people? I believe they're not just the engineers of today, they are the architects of our future. And the Tomorrow Factory gives this conviction a new home. Thanks to the generous support with many financial contributions, it has now been possible to breathe life into this building. I would like to specifically thank Professor Robert Schmucker, the founder of WAR. He was a student back in 1962. Let me welcome and thank the senators, Professor Friedrich Schwarz and Professor Rudolf Schwarz, the Scherkhuber Group with the CEO Florian Scherkhuber, who is also here with us today. Mr. Scherkhuber, many thanks. The Deal Group, the Karl Marx von Bauerfeind Association. Thank you very much for this support so that we can realize this house, this building, on the basis of external funds only. Thank you very much. I'm firmly convinced that innovations increasingly arise from the convergence of talents and disciplinary expertise. and skills. And this is also the reason for our expansion of TUM or to become Munich's gateway to the world at the airport's lab campus. We plan to open the Converging Center at the airport in autumn 2025 on a total of 15,000 square meters. We will combine the talents, educational and innovative power of our students with scientists, startup teams, business partners and guests from all over the world. This is our response to the rapidly changing labor markets and the resulting changes in the requirements profiles to be met by our students and professionals. In-depth specialized expertise alone, irrespective of the subject, will no longer be enough in the future. Our graduates will need even more networked thinking and system integrational skills. And above all, they will also need a social intelligence in addition to digital skills. To this end, we've introduced the TUM Project Weeks as part of the extra program. Here, students work in team projects. They work in a problem-solving, oriented, interdisciplinary way. They learn to think multi-causally and to work in teams. 51 such project weeks have been organized so far with over 2,000 students, and we'd now like to scale up this approach. And we would also like to bring in business and medium-sized companies to the students and integrate them into the project teams. We'll hear more about this later from Professor Heinz. He's going to introduce to us a wonderful project. That's the 1,000 Plus project. But this requires a space. That's why we are creating the TUM Student Collider in this building, among other things. That's the largest collaborative space for student project weeks and teams with up to 6,000 square meters. Continuous professional development and training will also find a home there. Since 2021, we've trained 9,000 TUM employees and over 10,000 external specialists and managers with the TUM Institute for Lifelong Learning. And now we are using the location advantage at the airport to expand into the international world and to cooperate with local partners, such as the Airport Academy, on topics such as airport operations, safety and security, which is a very good fit. The new Sustainable and Future Aviation Center is also being built there, a collaboration between TUM, Lufthansa AG and Munich Airport. We're focusing on viable solutions for more sustainable and efficient aviation. We only signed an LOI in October, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank our Minister Markus Blume and Albert Füracker once again for supporting this project with Lufthansa and the airport, and also for the financial opportunity that we're getting there at the airport. Also, the headquarters of the Robotics Institute Germany, an association of the best robotics institutions in Germany, will also move in here, which is a community of AI-based robotics funded by the federal government with 20 million euros. And I'd like to thank Angela Schöllig, our Alexander von Humboldt professor and member of the board of directors of the Institute for Robotics Intelligence, who is coordinating this program. And in the medium term, our TUM think tank, which I already mentioned, is setting up local pop-up labs. For example, the Sustainable Air Travel and Policy Impact Lab is planned. This is where students will work on practical issues relating to the airport in cooperation with stakeholders from politics and industry. We are also strengthening this convergence of scientific disciplines with the aforementioned TUM innovation networks. Since 2022, we've been supporting interdisciplinary pioneering teams to move into new scientific terrain as a kind of precursor to later SFBs or clusters of excellence. From a total of 45 applications, we've today funded 8 networks with 14 million euros from the Excellence Strategy, plus another one through a donation from Google. 83 PIs, 19 postdocs, 66 doctoral students are pioneers here. and work here and are involved in high-risk, high-reward projects on transformative technologies and social change. AI in material science, AI in medicine, development of lifelike, self-replicating biosystems or more efficient construction. Now, we'd like to raise interdisciplinarity to a new level of leadership, and the international ranking, coming in 12th in the interdisciplinary science ranking worldwide, and this shows that we're on the right track. We're also tapping into such collaborative potential through our One Munich strategy. Here we join forces with LMU in strategic subjects of the future on emerging fields that have growth potential. 3 One Munich projects have been funded with support from the Free State of Bavaria, financial resources from the Free State, TUM's own resources, and LMU's own resources, because we want to do it together. 53 PIs, 22 postdocs, and 68 doctoral students work between these universities at both locations, and 2 of these projects and 5 of the innovation networks in turn support our excellence strategy. They support the continued applications of our current clusters of excellence, e-conversion, synergy, CQST, and origins, as well as new cluster initiatives, biosystem, nucleate, and transform. And now we can also say the heat is on. Everything has been submitted. The competition has begun with our 7 applications. We are competing against 91 other applications from other universities in Germany. The defense of the MCQST cluster took place about a week ago, and in January the other 6 are going to follow suit, and then we will confidently await the results in May. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the courageous heroes who don't just talk bad, but those who do it, and they say, okay, we don't know whether it will work out, but we are trying and doing our best to move this university and the scientific fields forward. Thank you very much for that. And let's not forget to also say thank you to Björn Janke and the strong team at TUM Forte, who've actually been doing almost nothing but supporting clusters of excellence for weeks now, working late into the night on joint presentations, and would like to thank the team. This is truly teamwork between Forte and the excellent scientists that we have. Now, what is directly relevant to the e-conversion cluster is a new initiative, a strategic partnership with the Max Planck Society. Together, we would like to establish the world's first center for solar batteries and optoionic technologies in the chemistry building at Garching, with a focus on optoionics. This means we actually combine optoelectronic, you know that, from the semiconductor systems of photovoltaic systems, and you know solid-state ionics from solid-state batteries, and we would like to bring that together in a single component, i.e. solar cells and batteries in a single component, so to speak. This means we can store the energy from sunlight directly electrochemically without having to go through converting it into electricity. This means we save efficiency, we achieve efficiency gains through an improved ion cycle, and on the other hand, we are less dependent on fluctuations in solar power. The center is headed by Jennifer Rupp, our professor, who we were able to recruit from the MIT 4 years ago. Bettina Lodge, director of Max Planck Institute for Solid State Research in Stuttgart, and Professor Carsten Reuter, one of the directors of the Fritz Haber Institute at Berlin. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Bavarian Ministry of Economic Affairs for making 8 million euros available for the launch of this new center. The new center ideally complements the ecosystem here around energy conversion and storage, from the eco-conversion cluster, the Bavarian Soltec Association, to our second-tier subsidiary TUM Energy Research GmbH, for applied battery research and technology transfer projects with our industrial partners. And in addition, which was announced last week, we now have Germany's first incubator for battery startups, BASTI. Well, this BASTI is associated with our network of TUM Venture Labs, and here too, this is thanks to Mrs. Rupp. She was able to bring this BASTI here to Munich for 3.3 million from the BMBF. And also, our TUM Industry on Campus strategy has become a reality this year. We are combining academic excellence, entrepreneurial spirit, and industrial innovation on a single campus. The Siemens Technology Center was opened on the 17th of April, which was followed by the SAP Labs in Munich on the 19th of July. Across a total of 32,000 square meters, 20 of our professors and their staff cooperate side by side with the colleagues from SAP and Siemens with the aim of bringing innovations to the world faster. I would like to particularly take this opportunity to thank Florian Leubler and his team at the ZA4, the Bavarian Ministry of Science, and the Bavarian State Parliament for their truly powerful support of this new partnership-based approach to innovation between science and industry. I believe it could really be a role model for similar initiatives in the future. Our objective is clearly defined here. We would like to render the campus at Garching a leading center of technologies or a leading center of excellence for digital transformation. And this is what we do together with our startups. And you can see this in our TUM Venture Labs as a joint venture with Unternehmer TUM, which can boast incredible numbers, 550 founding teams that are currently being supported. We now have 21 unicorns in our ranks, and we still have a lot of plans. I would like to take this opportunity to thank above all the General Managing Director, Philipp Gerber, but also the team at TUM Forte around Christian Körner for this powerful support. Our TUM Campus Garching for the digital age is also growing. We have set out to bring digital transformation to German SMEs. We've been building the campus in 3 phases since 2018. A total of 41 professorships at the TUM School of Management, at the TUM School of Computation, Information and Technology. We have now joined forces with the best reference universities worldwide to form the Global Research Hub AI. This is the HEC at Paris, the Oxford University, Jerusalem University, ETH Zurich, Stanford University, NUS Singapore, and NTU Singapore. And in future, ETH Zurich will be added as a strategic partner on site. So 2 leading technical universities on a single campus. This is something you won't find anywhere else in Europe, and I believe we're going to use this in order to generate even more impact for the digital transformation from Europe, from Germany for Europe. And with this alliance, we're pursuing the same rationale as with our One Munich strategy with LMU, because soloists do not make a world-class concert in this global competition. This requires strong teams, strong orchestras, and without you, Helmut Kretschmann, this campus would not exist in this form. Helmut Kretschmann has put his heart and soul into the development of this campus since the beginning of 2018 as the founding dean and then as my appointee, together with the deans involved, Gunter Friedl, I think I've seen him sitting here at the front, and Hans Bungartz. I mean, in those 4 years, you have managed to go from 41 students at the beginning to over 1,000 students this year. 1,000 students on this campus is simply a marvelous achievement. I would like to congratulate the 3 of you on this. On the 1st of October, the baton was handed over to Professor Ali Sunyayev, whom we can see here sitting in the middle, whom we appointed to be the Professor of Information Infrastructures and also appointed him Vice President of the TUM Campus Heilbronn, because this campus is important to us. We wish him a steady hand, good luck, and a continuation of the success story of this campus. And on the 1st of January 2025, we'll be saying goodbye to Gunter Friedl, because he'll be moving on to join the management team of the Dieter Schwarz Foundation. Where are you sitting? I saw you sitting somewhere before. Ah, up there. Thank you very much for your courageous commitment. You led the TUM School of Management for over 14 years in his role as dean. You actually brought the Triple Crown accreditation to TUM in Munich and courageously drove the development of the TUM campus from the very beginning. And we all wish you much joy, much strength, much health, and much fulfillment for these new tasks. Now, I think that's really worth another hearty round of applause, cordial round of applause for Gunter Friedl.
All diese Taten und Entwicklungen werden von besonderen Menschen gemacht, von Studierenden, von
All
Kolleginnen und
these
Kollegen.
actions and developments are made by special people, by special students, colleagues and employees. Many of them have families, have children, and I believe that if we give such people even more opportunities to develop in the future, then we need to work even harder on the compatibility of studies and families, or career and families, and emphasize this even more strongly. And that is precisely why I am delighted to see that we're able to open a new daycare center at Gabelsberger Straße right next door. The Ingeborg Pohl Children's Oasis at TUM is being built there, named after our generous Senator of Honor, who unfortunately cannot be here today, but always has an open ear for the concerns of the university, its employees and students. And not only did she provide financial means for it, she herself is the principal, building the daycare center on our land and then giving it to the children of this university family. And I believe that's also worth another round of applause. The Children's Oasis originates from the architectural signature of our TUM professor and Pritzker Prize winner Francis Carey, our professor, and is being realized as a joint project with Professor Hermann Kaufmann, our timber construction and design expert. The groundbreaking ceremony took place in April. Look up there on the roof, in the picture on the left-hand side. The sky meadow is being built for children to play on the roof terrace right in the middle of the city center. And this house for children is certainly not just for TUM. It's also a gift to the entire urban community, and it's also a signal for sustainability because it's a structural timber building with an iconic steel facade that will be earth-colored over the period of time, and I believe this will architecturally enrich the museum neighborhood. Yes, Facta non verba. This year again, I believe we've once again put our money where our mouth is, and this has always helped us to move on. And I would like to thank you all for your commitment to this university, day in, day out, wherever you are, in science, in innovation, in teaching, in administration, in technical services, in studies. It depends on every single one of you. And that is why we are introducing, or have already started to introduce, onboarding systems, onboarding programs and support programs for our staff groups, in order to make sure you can be integrated in the TUM system as quickly as possible. We are living in turbulent times, facing new geopolitical realities. The times of increasingly scarce state resources, and above all in times, and this worries me more and more when I look at Germany, in which too many people prefer to spend the time bad-mouthing others than helping to shape the future themselves. And in these times, it is up to us to stand together, and I believe the TUM has got the potential to lead the way here in Germany with this commitment, and to lead Germany back to being a country of poets, inventors, and above all, creators. And I'd like to thank you very much, and I'd like to thank you for your trust. And now I'd like to invite our Minister Markus Blume to join me here on the stage. Mr. Blume, welcome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, researchers, teachers, students, and above all, friends of the Technical University of Munich. That's probably everyone in this room. Until the beginning of the event, I was of the opinion that Germany is in a very deep crisis. The economy is at rock bottom. Elsewhere, for example in Berlin, extensive cuts are being made to universities. We have no longer a sensible government. But now I realized the whole of Germany is in a crisis? No. There is an indomitable village, this TUM village here, at the heart of the Bavarian state capital. There's no crisis here. I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, this is an absolute wellness event, and if you ever were to go through a short depressive phase, then you just need to have to go to TUM's Academicus, and then things simply will go well again afterwards. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for that.
Mit dieser TUM ist ja irgendwie auch alles ein bisschen anders.
Somehow, everything is a little different with this TUM. So, let me just share with you some secrets here. Sure, we've got a support officer at the head of the support department, Mr. Schmidt, but actually I have the feeling that on some days my entire ministry is a support ministry for this technical university of Munich. It is, I would say, very mentoring intensive, but in the best sense of the word. Sometimes I even wonder who's actually taking care of whom. Well, we certainly feel that we're very well looked after by the TUM president. Let me assure you of this today. Secondly, I've already experienced a few academic anniversary celebrations. There are very different models, also here in Munich, highly different. Here you somehow have the feeling that you're at a kind of annual general meeting of a DAX-listed company, charts, errors, internationalization, and there's not just a speech by the president, but a presidential speech. So that's really up in a completely different league. And thirdly, TUM, especially with you, President, does the merchandising department somehow work best? I was really glad to remember this morning that I'm to go to the Dies Academicus, and you gave me wonderful trainers or sneakers for Christmas last year, and of course I had to wear them today, ladies and gentlemen. And I think they are looking great on me too. I'm really happy about those. The president said I should only wear them on special occasions, so I've only worn them on the occasion of the Dies Academicus so far. And they're still white, but probably I'm going to broaden their application or scope of use somewhat. Ladies and gentlemen, this Technical University of Munich is a very special university, so I have to be careful to not just give a laudatory speech, but let me try to emphasize three things once again, why you have every right to be proud of your achievements over the past year. First of all, according to the latest rankings, TUM is now the strongest university in Munich. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, of course, the strongest in Germany and also the strongest one within the European Union. And since the president always sends me the latest ranking results by text message, very often even early in the morning, now our agricultural sciences have just taken another leap upwards here. Shanghai, there's the Times Higher Education ranking. I'm really well informed. I go to sleep with the TUM rankings. I wake up with them, and I can only tell you that I'm really impressed by this combination of scientific excellence on the one hand, which you have just documented in all its breadth, but at the same time also the other tasks of a modern university. The fact that these have been so wholeheartedly accepted here, that this university is also our transfer champion, not just in Bavaria, not just in Germany, but in the whole of Europe, that's something that is really special, and that is why I'm saying congrats on the latest ranking results and on being recognized as the strongest university here in our country. Thank you very much for that. But TUM is also one of Bavaria's strongest brands, both at home and abroad. I traveled several times this year, also accompanying the Bavarian Prime Minister. I remember only too well a visit to Serbia, for example. So you have to say that the Serbian president and the Serbian government were really delighted that we came by for a neighborly visit, so to speak, and we counted the flags on the journey from the airport to the city center to the presidential palace. There were more Bavarian flags than German and Serbian ones along the way. That was truly impressive. But the really relevant question was, where do we want to work together, and what does the Serbian side really want, regardless of the question of being brought closer to Europe and the European Union? The president only came up with one wish, i.e. he wanted the TU Munich to please come to Serbia and open a campus there. And of course, I know our budgetary situation, and I know that it is overstretched, and the TU also has a few small wishes that are added to this list, and we have a few other universities in Bavaria. And then the president says, well, money doesn't matter. If TU actually comes to us, then we will find ways and make this work out. So, ladies and gentlemen, TU Munich functions as a brand all over the world. Wolfgang Herrmann, even in your time in Singapore and elsewhere, when other universities and companies didn't even know where these places are on the map, the TU was already there. And today, the business model of a global elite, a global university of excellence, is to drive new pegs into the world, so to speak. So that is in great demand. But what I find just as exciting is that it also works at home. And the president has just said that we're rightly proud of the fact that we have built a campus at Garching together with Siemens and SAP. Why is this so special? Well, ladies and gentlemen, because we see a complete change in the job applicant markets. Today we've got applicant markets or candidate markets. This means that, unlike in the past, talent doesn't go where the companies are. No, on the other way around. Companies go where the talent is. And where do you find talents in Germany? Right here in the greater Munich area, in Bavaria. And that is why it's no coincidence that a DAX-listed company is perhaps reducing jobs across Germany on the one hand, but they're opening new facilities here in the Munich area because they know that they've got the most valuable asset here that there is, namely highly educated, excellent talent, especially from this technical university. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, on this achievement, on this great brand for the Free State of Bavaria. And the third and final thought is the following one. Well, TUM, that's a little bit of a synonym or an image of when we're talking about modern-day Bavaria. Our Prime Minister, Markus always says, it always boils down to the formula of home and high-tech. And it's precisely this combination, this unique combination, for why so many international people, so many international companies love to come to Bavaria. On the one hand, you can live well here because we keep up our traditions, because it's cozy here, it's home, it feels like home to them. And on the other hand, because there is this passion for new technologies, for new developments, for innovation. And somehow it all comes together at this TU Munich. As a matter of fact, this trip in this Edgar was quite a memorable experience for me. Professor Link, I already met you earlier. That really was a point where I realized that the two come together. Home, Bavaria is a home country and high-tech. To be honest, I had a few beads of sweat on my forehead, as did the TU president, who also had some mixed feelings about entering EDCA. But when I saw that the technicians who accompanied us had even more beads of sweat on the foreheads, wondering whether it all would work out, I was somehow able to relax again. Ladies and gentlemen, but this is exactly how it works. Not to develop technology in isolation from people, we have to put it at the service of society instead. Sometimes we need to face up to the question. I mean, the Bavarian Minister of Economic Affairs likes to say, well, AI, all this stuff. Well, sure, you can call it that stuff. Or you might also wonder, how does technology actually become good? Well, by using it in such a way that it benefits people and not people somehow benefit technology. That's our understanding of humanity, and I think it's strong that these aspects are also expressed in the strengthening of the social and political science disciplines. Basically, the entire program that we're promoting together with the Technical University of Munich is dedicated to this idea of combining home and high-tech. I'm thinking, Mr. President, of development of our space valley at Taufkirchen, Ottobrunn. I mean, when I look in the direction of the members of the Bavarian State Parliament, Robert Branner, I see colleague Oskian, I'm very grateful to the State Parliament that we were able to make a huge property deal there. We secured land for the permanent establishment of the faculty at this location, and this is a commitment to the future and commitment to this subject. We could have talked about Weinstefan. Here also, home, the home country, and high-tech come together, which is an outstanding, especially in basic research, an excellent positioning that the TUM Munich has found here on site. And now there is this attempt being made to create even more and joint projects from the individual parts on site with the WT, with the departmental research from the Ministry of Agriculture. We could have talked about the importance of cutting-edge medicine for this location. This also has to do with the high-tech, with the quality of life and new technologies. We're currently in the process of forming the Munich Medicine Alliance with M1, and here too, of course, the Technical University of Munich and the Clinical Center are an integral part. And we could have talked about the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that the students and the student representatives of this university in particular have emphasized that we need to do more when it comes to student housing. And we've developed ideas together on how we can do more. And here again, I'm very grateful that we're not just standing on the side saying, well, everything's difficult. Well, that's what a booming city means for you. But we are actually spending a 3-digit million sum to finally redevelop Freimann, to strengthen the Studierendenwerke with a huge equity injection of more than 50 million, and to finally take a big step forward in the area of student housing. Mr. President, Chancellor, we might even get something done in Garching. I am dreaming of realizing campus living there. That really would be a great next step. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I'm almost inclined to be carried away because we've got so many issues we need to work on together, because you are so much standing for what it means to be here at the Free State of Bavaria and what the country needs at the same time. And that's why I'd like to conclude by repeating the point I made last year. It is this very special spirit, this TUM spirit. And if you look or come back to the beginning of my speech, Germany somehow down in the dumps, that cannot be denied. But if we have a little more of this team spirit in this country, this spirit of simply doing things, the spirit of reflecting on our actual qualities, where we simply are strong, this passion, which really should be a little more widespread in Berlin's government district, then, ladies and gentlemen, there is not that far to go, because then the arrow will finally be pointing upwards again in many places in our republic. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I'll soon be in Berlin, where we'll also be talking about election programs and so on. Perhaps we should simply include the fact that the country needs more TUM spirit, and it'll go we're going to do better again. With this in mind, have a great event and Happy New Year and all the best for 2025.
Liebe Studierende, sehr geehrter Herr Präsident,
esteemed students, esteemed Mr. President, esteemed members of the academic community, Minister. It's not every day that you have the President and the Minister as previous speakers. Unfortunately, I'm not wearing any TUM sneakers, but at least I have branded socks from our student festivals.
Ich freue mich, Teil der TUM-Familie zu sein.
I'm delighted to be part of the family, of the TUM family, and to be able to speak to you today. As a student representative, I often address problems, but I also view this as being part of my job, and you can believe me. This does not stand in contrast to my enthusiasm for being part of this university. Allow me to take a personal look back. I already had my student ID card from Goethe University at Frankfurt in my hand when I was accepted by TUM. What did I do back then? I exmatriculated and decided to study political science at TUM with full conviction. A decision that I've never regretted. Well, almost never. One of the first things I was confronted with in Munich was the search for a flat. This quickly turned into a mission for the whole of my family. We spent hours, days. There was letter after letter, cancellation after cancellation, a visit to a basement that reeked of smoke and was being illegally rented out as living space. Incidentally, that was the moment when my parents said to me, Johannes, well, if we top it up by another 200 euros, that would also be fine. And finally, with a great deal of luck, we actually found something in the end, just under 800 euros for 16.75 square meters on the outskirts of Munich city. Stories like this are anything but an isolated incident in Munich. That is why I'm all the more pleased to see that things are slowly moving here. The refurbishing of the student city and the student hall of residence at the Garching campus, announced by the minister at the Bavarian State Student Council, and also today are moves in the right direction. If large-scale and above all affordable living space is created here together with students, this will not solve the housing problem in Munich, but it will be a big step in the right direction. You have no idea how much and I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for all students here, I'm looking forward to the extra campus life at the TUM, largest location, the food, the shopping facilities, the halls of residence, events, or in short, simply student life. However, as far as events at Garching or at TUM in general are concerned, we're already well positioned anyway. Garnix, ESP, Unity, clinics, and whatever they might be called, would not be possible without the countless volunteers and the support by TUM. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the students involved, the presidential or the executive committee, the executive board, and the administration. This shows once again what makes TUM strong is the cooperation between students, teaching staff, and administration.
Oder stellen Sie sich unser studentisches Maifest, die Maitum, vor, ohne Kanzler Berger, der Bier an.
Or just imagine our student May party, the Maitum without Chancellor Berger, tapping beer there. As I already mentioned at the beginning, being a student in Munich is pretty expensive. This is especially true for international students who need to pay tuition fees on top of the absurd rental prices here in Munich. Somewhere between 2,000 and 6,000 euros per semester. I have many friends in my hometown at Baden-Württemberg for whom studying in Munich is unthinkable simply because of the rents. The best university education should not be hidden behind a paywall.
Sei es drum. Es gibt diese Gebühren jetzt.
Whatever. These fees are in existence now, and like the rents, they're not going to change anytime soon. But just as we have worked constructively on the design and implementation over the last few years, despite our objections, we'd like to continue doing that. Students tend to come to me and ask me, Johannes, what are they doing with my money? And I have to admit that we are often unable to answer this question fully. I can, especially when it comes to the part of the money that goes to the schools. I can only appeal to everyone involved at all levels. Do take us on board further in your decision-making processes. Yes, we are not, at least not for the most part, fans of any fees. But that doesn't change the fact that we can and want to make a meaningful contribution. If we do this, we create transparency and co-determination, and we can create acceptance and added value for everyone involved. And I think there is a need for this added value. Just take a look around in the Audimax and try and find a socket to charge a tablet or laptop.
Dankeschön.
Thank you.
Oder reden Sie mit Studierenden aus der Informatik.
Or talk to those students from computer science where there's a lack of tutors and staff to supervise the final thesis. I know that the executive board and the deans are aware of problems like these and they're working feverishly on solutions in some cases. It's just a shame that we currently often have to draw these solutions, these foundations foundations of a functional teaching organizations from the wallets of the vulnerable group of non-European students. Above all, the ministry needs to realize that TUM not only needs new buildings, but also the existing buildings and teaching facilities need to be preserved, maintained in the long term. Or to emphasize my point again with a quote, if you want to plan ahead for a year, sow rice. If you'd like to plan ahead for a decade, then plant trees. If you'd like to plan for a century, then educate people. And that simply costs money. Money that we as a society must invest in the future, in education. We as students, we don't just want to plant rice and trees with you with TUM. However, the students from agriculture and forestry might see these things differently. But let's take the joking aside. As we already say, we want to help shape things. And as I mentioned earlier, this cooperation is very fruitful for everyone. Voluntary work is now also encouraged through semester leave, and our TUM clubs, student clubs, make a valuable contribution to the university. Such success stories show that cooperation between students, teaching staff, and administration makes TUM strong. Appointments are yet another example of this collaboration. It is true that the focus very often still is too much on research and too little on teaching. However, the opinion of students is increasingly being heard and highly valued by commissions, especially the Nussbauer Commission that appoints excellent young lecturers and researchers to TUM. That is a valuable step in the right direction. Increasing attention is also being paid to gender and diversity issues in appointments. As a university, we need to be an inclusive space in which very different people with very different opinions can meet and participate freely without the fear of reprisals.
Das ist in einer Welt von Andrew Tates und Donald Trumps wichtiger denn je.
This is more important than ever before in a world of Andrew Tates and Donald Trumps. But as I said, nothing's perfect, not even TUM. For example, recruitment procedures below professorship level are hardly ever regulated, and the diversity of academic staff is primarily dependent on the individual commitment of professors. This is a problem that needs to be resolved if we wish to further increase diversity at TUM in the long term. The mills at TUM also grind particularly slowly in some places, and students sometimes complain to us about waiting and processing times for exams and applications. This leads to frustration and problems when entering professional life or continuing one's studies. As you've heard today, I've done what I described at the beginning as being one of my jobs. I addressed problems, I voiced some criticism, and at the same time, I was showing how we can find solutions at TUM, not in a conflict between the university and students, but by working together instead. We students are happy to be involved, give up our free time and help shape this university. And I can promise you one thing, nobody who doesn't enjoy studying at TUM will do that. Without wanting to anticipate the following presentation too much, in the spirit of Facta non-verba, let's rather take action instead of voicing words. Let's make that the principle of our cooperation. Not just talk about that, but actively live this motto out more and more. Thank you very much. Mr. Boss, thank you very much, and I think you've once again shown what far-sighted great students we have. Thank you very much for that. Unfortunately, the Minister of State had to leave because he needs to be talking about European quantum computer, and of course he'd like to put forward the Free States point of view, and we only want to support that. Facta non-verba, that's part of our DNA, and we'd like to show this in various examples, and we'd like to bring some people onto the stage that actually are exemplary of this motto this year. They are prototypical for Facta non-verba, above all in research. First of all, I'd like to introduce Professor Hendrik Dietz to you. He's the professor of biomolecular nanotechnology, and he's one of the pioneers. So for lay people, this may sound rather unknown or unfamiliar, but if you listen to what he says, it's highly exciting. That's the DNA origami technology, which has nothing to do with Japanese, but with absolute pioneering technology. It's molecular motors and even medical applications. We'll then hear something about the topic of founding and how you can recharge your batteries at turning points when things aren't always going well in life. This is what Sarah Fleischer, TUM Alumni Mechanical Engineering, stands for. She was also involved in Hyperloop, one of the student initiatives, and she's the founder of TUM, Europe's first startup dedicated to recycling lithium-ion batteries. And thirdly, new creation in teaching. We've just heard about how important the modernization of teaching is. Nina Sandner and Professor Oliver Hayden from the Heinz Chair of Biomedical Electronics will report on this later, and the two of them are going to present the project 1000 Plus. I think that's a project in which we try for the first time to bring students and companies together at an early stage of a scaled basis. Now let yourself be inspired, and I would now like to invite our colleague back on stage, Mr. Leeds. Molecular machines of the future. What is that anyway? To understand this, let's take a look into the past. What we can see here is an enzyme, a molecule, a synthase molecule about 15 nanometers in size, consists of 50,000 atoms and has accompanied life on Earth for several billion years. Every cell on Earth has got several copies of these objects, every single one of our body cells, because all cells in the world need ATP, which is the energy fuel with which the metabolism in the cells work. Antibiosyntase is really a molecular machine. This is an illustration of how this molecule works. Driven by an ion gradient, our cells rotate certain substructures in these molecules, and as they do that, they take two smaller molecules from the environment, put them together into a larger molecule, in this case ATP. So what you can see here is actually something that looks like coming from a science fiction book. It's a molecular matter assembly, but these objects have been around in the world for billions of years, and they serve us as a blueprint for perhaps artificial enzymes, machines that we might want to build one day. In this picture, we also see a molecular machine in the broader sense, which also has existed for many millions of people on Earth. This is an electro-microscopic image of several adenoviruses, objects that indeed give us some headache from time to time, and these objects are, so to speak, highly optimized for a single task, namely to penetrate body cells as efficiently as possible and deposit their genetic material there. And it sounds bad at first, but basically this is also a blueprint for how we might one day construct the most efficient drug transporters or gene shuttles in medicine. And we, as bio-nanotechnologies, we are thinking about how we can design such structures or artificial structures of this kind for technological purposes. At the Technical University of Munich, we've been working for over 15 years on a technology that has been known as the DNA nanotechnology. We've been investigating how we can program the sequences of DNA molecules virtually on a computer so that these molecules can subsequently self-assemble in a test tube to form a program structure encoded in the sequences. In this illustration, in this picture, you can see how such a process works, roughly. All these strings are supposed to represent individual DNA molecules that have a certain sequence, complementary elements, which then assemble through Watson-Crick base pairing and form a three-dimensional structure that can be completely determined in the sequence. In this case, we have a small rod, 14 nanometers in length, not very exciting. It consists of 10 double DNCs that are stapled together, but it's still fascinating because these objects can, in principle, be created automatically with atomic precision and completely customized in a test tube. You can program every single part of this object beforehand and, for example, attach chemical functionality or other objects to it. In this film, we can see a number of other objects that have been created here at the TU Munich. These are all prototypes that have been used for a number of different tests. Everything that is shown in yellow-blue consists 100% of computer-designed DNA molecules, and what we can see here is actual data. These are not computer models, it's all structures that have been painstakingly resolved experimentally over many years using electron microscopes. These objects really do look like this. And for size comparison, two objects of natural origin are also shown here. These are the two magenta-colored objects, these small spheres that are just coming into the foreground. This is a hepatitis B virus. The core is 35 nanometers in size, and the top left corner is a membrane protein. And these two objects simply illustrate that DNA technology can actually be used to rationally design structures that are on the same size scale as natural macromolecular complexes. And because this is the case, this new technology offers new technological possibilities, which subsequently led to the founding of companies in the Munich area, which I see as the global center for this technology. And here you've got a list of a few companies that have emerged here in Munich that use these production technologies in order to develop new therapeutic and diagnostic applications, for example. In addition to nanotechnology, there's also another area that has received a lot of attention this year, thanks to the awarding of the Nobel Prize in Chemistry to the novel protein designer David Baker for breakthroughs in computational protein design, and to Demis Hassabis and John Jumper from Google or Google Spinfold, who have developed a key-supported protein structure prediction tool in AlphaFold. Now, what is novel protein design? Well, here the vision is that you want to be able to create completely new protein structures with new forms and also functions on the drawing board. And just like these viruses, they also consist of proteins. And we've, of course, also thought about this, and building on the work of David Baker and Hassabis and Jumper, we've also developed a new technological approach that enables us to actually design particularly large proteins on the computer and develop them for specific functions. This approach, as we've now recently presented it, 1 month ago roughly, is scalable protein design using optimization in a relaxed sequence space. It sounds a little difficult, but it's a classic engineering approach where you use iterative optimization to achieve a target structure. This process is illustrated here. So basically we've got a tangle, it's an unselected protein structure, which is then optimized in an iterative process with the help of a simple prediction tool like AlphaFold towards a target that can be mapped in a mathematical function. Now in this case the aim was to create a globular protein with a hole in the center, and that's what we're seeing here. Now we have, for example, a candidate for an amino acid sequence that was predicted to self-assimilate or self-assemble in this form. And of course we've also validated this exponentially. This image shows a series of structures that have been resolved using X-ray crystallography and electron microscopy. You can see a few gray band models and superimposed blue band models, and the main message of this picture is that all these things match 100%. This means the structure, this design method is offering an atomic level of precision. So you can actually use it to design structures with a high level of accuracy, and they actually look like this in reality. What I find a little sobering is this task of creating custom nanoshapes, user-defined three-dimensional nanostructures, so to speak, which always has been part of our hobby horse, our specialty in DNA technology. Unfortunately, this is no longer the case. We can also use protein design to create completely arbitrary three-dimensional nanoscale shapes. On the one hand, it's fun, for example, to create DNA. The letters are for DNA simply from proteins. You can see the electron-microscopic images below that. These proteins actually look like these three letters. In principle, you can create any shape of DNA, VK, or HOPE down here. And hopefully you can also use this technology for something that's useful. That's what we're doing it for, after all. Now, I'd like to share with you an example, simply to inspire the others, so to speak. For example, if you want to prevent a virus from entering a cell, to prevent it or rather to generate data for an active ingredient, you can now use DNA protein design. And then you can develop a protein that specifically targets those surface elements and then prevents the virus from entering the cell, so to speak. And we've also tried this out. And this is a three-dimensional representation of the spike protein from the SARS-CoV-2 virus that we all had to endure. And in orange, for example, here you can see one of those bands that we designed on the computer, which actually binds to a site that is relevant to the infection. So this means I'm slightly behind schedule, but the question is where we're going. Well, we're going to nanotechnology, and as I started or said at the beginning, we want to develop new drug concepts, drug transporters, gene shuttles, and at some point artificial enzymes that help us to produce complex chemical compounds. And I think I'm convinced that these two technologies, DNA nanotechnology and novel protein design, are going to get us there together. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah, and I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of 2.0. It is a great honor to be here today, not as a scientist, not as a Nobel Prize winner, not as a professor, but actually as a true entrepreneur. TUM asked me to be here today to entertain you, share my life story, and share you my learnings. Now, there are two things here. I'm not that old yet, so my life story can be a little bit short here. But number two, I'm so proud that we're so international, over 40 international students. Looking back, I was leading and being the president of the TUM German-Chinese Alumni Club back in my days, and the numbers were not that great. We got over 35% of international professors. Now, the second mistake, when TUM asked a founder to stand here, I will not listen to rules. I'm not speaking in German. I'm speaking in English here. So I'm an alumni of mechanical engineering, honors degree of the Center of Digital Technology and Management, CDTM. I ran and led the first TUM Hyperloop team with other great students of the VAR Hyperloop team. And I did many great internships during my time as a student. I never really saw myself doing a career in these big corporates. I looked at the managers, and they were always so unhappy. It looked like there was no spark in their eyes, there was no purpose in their lives. So I decided really early on, with the age of 22, to do my first startup. Very naive, completely bootstrapped. With two other friends, we did e-commerce, selling German baby consumer goods to the Chinese market. It worked wonderfully. We made 20K in the second month. We ramped it up. We could hire 6, 7 people after 6 months. However, after 11 months, the founders split. We had completely different visions. One wanted to keep it bootstrapped, earn a lot of money. Number two, my second co-founder wanted to go to Bali, make it into a passive income. And I wanted to create a Google workspace, have fun, create a cool culture in a team. So we founders split. I started my second startup helping tourists that came here to Europe to do luxury shopping. So I helped them to pre-order luxury items, a Prada, Gucci, Hermes, and so on. This one was business angel funded, so it was pretty cool. But after 2.5 years, we didn't scale fast enough, right? So once you take money from VCs or business angels, your mission is to scale infinitely in a very fast manner. There's no excuses here to take longer. So you have to really break the boundaries to raise more money and keep growing and scale as a startup. So that startup broke. I did 3.5 years of entrepreneurship. I was 25 back then, 2 failed startups. What to do? I was miserable. I was depressed. So I decided, what can you do best? Be back as a student. Life is easy as a student. So I came back here at Technical University of Munich, did more focus on space engineering, maybe because one of the best professors back then in mechanical engineering was Professor Ulrich Walter. When you sit down in his lectures, he just talks about floating in space and looking for aliens. It was pretty cool. I also managed to write my master's thesis with Robert Schmucker, who was also announced earlier, who led and created the TUM VAR team. It's pretty cool stuff that TUM is really doing here. And I pursued my career in space. So I worked for the space agency at the Luxembourg Space Agency in the Ministry of the Economy. And my duty was to set up financial instruments. How can this tiny, small little country, Luxembourg, attract space ventures around the world and set up their European headquarters in that small country? I was responsible to set up financial instruments. Did I know how to do it? No. Did I have mentors who I could ask questions? Yes. Did I make it successful? Yes. So I set up a 150 million euro VC fund within just 2 years in a public-private partnership. I also set up a startup incubator together with the European Space Agency, convincing big countries like Germany, France, and Italy why they should spend money on this small country to create an ecosystem. And today, as of today, we're almost 200 space ventures in Luxembourg, from back then from 5. So that's a huge success. Now, Luxembourg was a pivotal moment in my life. I met who's today now my co-founder, Xenia. Xenia was building solar panels on the moon, on Mars. Pretty brilliant person. And on the very first evening we met, maybe after some glasses of wines, we decided on a napkin that one day we're going to found a company together, and we signed it. Few years later, she called me. I was back then leading strategy and partnerships at one of TUM's unicorns, Forto, that does digital supply chain solutions. And she called me and said, hey, I founded this breakthrough technology that allows to efficiently and effectively recover lithium in really high rates from any lithium-ion battery. Before her, it was at 70% in lab scale. And with her technology, it was over 97%. Now, I asked her, well, was this an accident? You know, in labs, sometimes accidents happen, and you don't know why. But she said very surely, no, she repeated it 100 times. So that's how we started to zero. So our DNA and the technology stems from her innovation. Now, there's like quite many things here that come into play. A, I must be crazy. Why do I found again? You know, like the ratio of success of a startup is really low. It's merely 1% to 5%. All the rest of the startups die eventually because either they don't manage to scale fast enough, they don't go into the market smartly to really penetrate their go-to-market strategy, or there's just no market. So I must be a bit crazy and naive in a way as an entrepreneur. But number 2, I always knew I never wanted to go back to corporates. I really wanted to shape the world. And I knew 2 things. If I found again, I have to have a co-founder that has the same vision as I, really make something really big and meaningful and impactful. And number 2, have a topic that is not money-driven. My first 2 startups, they failed eventually because being driven by money is not good enough. I'm not a Gucci girl. I was not a mother back then with 22 years old. Me selling baby goods or me selling Prada bags is not really purposeful for me personally. So I told myself it has to be a topic where I can wake up every morning and I know that my whole energy and my life purpose is basically really going into this one single thing, which is lithium-ion battery recycling, because I really truly believe that we can bring the world forward by regenerating these critical raw materials. So I'm super laser focused. Now, even after 2.5 years, it shows. We as TUM, we are the first and only ones who are able to recover lithium on industrial scale and deliver recycled lithium Europe-wide to customers. And we did this because we're super laser focused and purpose-driven as a team. And we're doing this out of Munich, Karlsfeld maybe, a little bit further away from the city center. And this is pretty exciting. So my learnings to you all, it's hard to find purpose. But if you have it in front of you, if you can grasp it, be super open-minded. You don't know how to make things on day one, but you can learn while doing it. There are mentors out there that you can ask questions. And I truly believe just grasp these opportunities, believe in serendipity, and go all in. I think TUM also made a really, okay, it's not working, a great sketch, yes, exactly, summarizing my life story and summarizing exactly to that point with serendipity. But number two, what TUM taught me is being able to stand up when you fail. I failed quite many exams in the very early days at TUM Mechanical Engineering. It was super hard exams. But I stood up, studied again, and that was the cheapest life learning I had as a student. If you fail in your job, that usually means you got fired. That's really painful. So I think we can all be super happy as students here, alumni of TUM, with this great education, that this actually shaped our life. In that moment, horrible, but now looking back, actually as one of the most meaningful learnings I personally ever had. All right, so with that, let's all live Facta non verba, walk the talk, and not just talk the talk. Thank you very much.
Magnificent. Students, colleagues, thank you for the opportunity to present 1000 Plus to you. Now let me try and use the mouse here. Now, what is 1000 Plus? I'm also a bit of a representative for the large family of project weeks. You've already heard about that from the president. 1000 Plus actually deals with this one topic because so many students themselves know that who are at the end of the studies. Now, what am I going to do at the end? Where's the best job? What company might be a good fit for me? You're a bit more selective than my generation, because for us it was primarily about earning money, and then which company should I choose? So that might be a bit of a question you have there. And then on the other hand, you have the companies. I'm not talking about the big corporates here. I'm talking about the SMEs, the family-run companies, the small, highly innovative units, and they're looking for talented people with the right skills. But nobody is aware of them. So everyone applies to Siemens and BMW, but nobody knows those small companies. But that's where the majority of employees can be found, especially here in Bavaria. And then there is us, our TUM. Our mission is to train employees for companies and industries. And of course, we also want to make sure that our graduates find a good job. In other words, we want to prepare them for their day-to-day working life in such a way that they can actually offer the right mix of skills and to take these skills with them into the company's further field. That is why we also generate those professional profiles. And in the course of the transformation, we're asking ourselves, how can we provide support so that you can bring together those companies, most of whom are completely unknown, and the young students, the talents who are looking for a great job, But there's yet another component here. We've also got a lot of international students, and at the moment around 50% of these students actually stay in the greater Munich area. But still there's a pool of 50% international students that we could retain for the German labor market. And in a global competition for the best minds, that's a pretty big number. That may not sound that exciting now, but if you go one level deeper, you might slowly realize where the 1000 plus is going. Because if you take a closer look at what actually is important to those students, then it's the fact that they don't actually know that much about the German labor market. And this does not apply to the international students only, but also to our national German students. So what else is there besides the big DAX-listed companies? What I experience time and again every single year when my master students or PhD students graduate, they all come to my front door and ask me, Oliver, what am I going to do now? I'm done here. I need a research and development job now. And I look at them and I tell them, don't do research. You have to take care of your own prosperity. So please try and earn some money. Try to initiate productive development. Do something that's new. And don't just think about research. But there's something that is missing in between, especially in the areas of medicine where I'm at home. And a third segment that I have noticed is that many of the young talents don't even realize what skills they actually have. They have undergone excellent methodological training by us, no question, but they actually have very limited knowledge beyond that. The previous speaker did a marvelous job of illustrating of what she could actually build up with her skills, and she only did her studies on the side, so to speak. But there's also a surprise on the corporate side, especially the small companies, in particular family-run battleships, the hidden champions. They don't even dare to approach TUM because they're saying they're not going to apply with us. They're going to go to Siemens or BMW. And then there's the second element, language barrier. Well, English in the Bavarian countryside, that's difficult. But that's exactly where a great deal of this talent comes from. And is language barrier really something that's real, or is it just something that people think is a barrier? And last but not least, most jobs are outside those DAX-listed companies. And this is where you find those hidden champions, who in turn are looking for talent. So what is the task of 1000 plus? We are looking for networking opportunities here. However, this goes beyond what is already available in most schools anyway, i.e. research projects with industry partners that are carried out in a very disciplined manner with one department, so to speak. We don't want to compete against that because there are many very successful variants of that. But we are here to provide for a kind of networking between companies that are interested in a mix of disciplines, and on the other hand, students should be given the opportunity to familiarize themselves with real operational processes. And how do we create this kind of network? We decided to say the core of the whole thing is actually a real operational problem. And that goes far beyond a pure management discussion or a question of research or production or wherever. It's about getting into a company as a student team. Typically, we're talking about 5 students here who we match precisely to the interests or requirements of the companies who decide to go down this path with us. And we try to find out about a real problem from the past through interviews, role-playing, and many other such things, and then step by step, in 1 week, the project week, we learn once again what such a solution could have looked like. However, at the end of this week, there will be some kind of clarification, i.e. the company presents how it actually has resolved the problem. This leads to reflection. That is exactly the kind of challenge-based learning that we try to offer, so that on the one hand, we learn to reach beyond the disciplinary boundaries, but also to be able to expand our own skills, or perhaps even to awake new interests within our students. And the whole thing happens in an environment where we don't have any disciplinary space boundaries. The young students are directly inside at the company, and the companies also support the whole project financially. Thank you very much for that. Transport, accommodation, meals, etc. And vice versa, the companies also have something completely new in their hands, because they have the opportunity to get to know a team with different disciplinary backgrounds and have a little more time than they do now to get to know candidates for half an hour at an interview if somebody applies for a job. And they can even see if there are team skills. And if you do all that, and if you put it together, then I hope this works. Then you get this deep insight into company culture. And company culture differs a great deal. Whether we're talking about a large company, a very small company, a family-run company, all the variants and cultures is something that appeals to young people today. They want to see a match between their own culture and the employer, where they feel they are in good hands, and vice versa. Companies then have the opportunity to sell and market their values, their products, and their visions. And this also gives them the opportunity to do a bit of advertising in the student community, in TUM, so to speak, and they simply become better known because they were not known at all before. However, we conclude the whole thing with a large-scale closing event. That means there will be a poster presentation, all the companies will be involved, all the students will be involved, and with a factor of 40, so to speak, all the companies involved have another opportunity to exchange ideas with other motivated students who were working for other company, and this also applies for the student teams, vice versa. And this already brings us to the end, because we created the first pilot this year. The first few students have applied for it. We had the first companies on board. They were all very satisfied and happy. And I'd like to ask Nina to join me up here on the stage, because the target is to upscale this effort, because there is a potential for scaling, as after all we're taking some of the teaching away from the professors and direct it or hand it over to the companies. And with that, we'd like to share with you a bit of an outlook of where we are right now. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank those who've really helped us to organize this project week. First of all, of course, Professor Müller. None of this would have worked without you. Then SIT is very important. They really backed us up. That was Thomas Scholter from the CSA itself, Nina Rode, Stefan Kögler. We also had contact with some German scholarship programs, Susanne Birkeneder. Then the Heilbronn TUM School of Management provided us with a great deal of communication support. Thank you very much for that. To all the companies and those who applied, of course. But we've got some more. Yes, I brought a few figures. I brought a few figures. In our first pilot of 1,000 plus in January 2024, we were able to accommodate 17 bachelor and master students from 4 schools. So 4 schools were involved, and the Heilbronn site was also involved. 14 interdisciplinary teams were then able to get a taste of the construction industry. IT companies and also MedTech was involved. Right. Now, what's the situation now? I mean, this year we were able to scale that up. We've got 350 applications, and last week we were able to successfully finalize the matchmaking of the TUM talents with the companies according to their preference. And now we're talking about 210 students who will be able to have this experience from 41 nations. And those 210 students represent around 60% of our degree programs. And we've also essentially reached a milestone. Everyone is well involved. All locations are involved, Heilbronn, Straubing. And that means we've already achieved our first success. And Olli, we also had an internal bet going on. 42 teams. 42, that's the answer to all questions. But now we've done ourselves, because there will be 44 teams this year, or rather in January 2024. And if you don't know the 42, just let me know. I'm going to give you more information. But there was still one more missing, because namely one team that would have needed a masted brewer. I'm just looking around to see if Mr. Becker is here. Unfortunately, no one got in touch, so we could do a little more, and that's our invitation to you from the TUM community. So you might want to support us with your networks for us to be able to scale that up a little. So we need to finish now. Thank you very much for the opportunity to introduce 1000 plus to you at the very end. Why 1000 plus? Well, I couldn't think of a better name, and of course I wanted to have 1000 students taking part in this project week. Factor 3 is still missing, but we'll definitely management, and thank you very much for your kind attention. Many thanks to everyone in all three teams. We now come to those who actually render and facilitate research and teaching. These are our energetic administrative staff, and we thought it would be a good idea to take a look at what these people in our administration actually do. And we've just heard about the modernization that we made in teaching, which of course is also reflected in the schools on the one hand, and also in the head office of the TU. And that is why we'd like to introduce to you the TUM Center of Study for Teaching, namely the two directors, Gabriele Kunnes and Katrin Dressel. Do come up, join me here, please. They also stand for Facta and verba, because these are two absolute doers. Welcome to you. Thank you. Thank you very much, President. Here comes your administration. As we all know, administration doesn't have the best ring to everyone's ears. Many people think of people with sleeve protectors sitting at dusty desks and refusing to stamp the A38 license in order to stick to the image presented before by the minister. So administration is often associated with cumbersome, time-consuming and seemingly pointless bureaucracy or red tape. But red tape or bureaucracy was or used to be an innovation before it was supposed to professionalize administration and render it more efficient and fairer. At the TUM Center for Study and Teaching, we wish to orient ourselves towards this original ideal and want to be an approachable professional contact for our students, for our teaching staff, for our colleagues in the schools and in the central administration. And the new term for our personnel category fits in quite well with this. We used to be the other employees, those who were also on board, as we say in Bavarian. Now we are the academic support staff. And that's what we want to be. We want to provide support for our students who immerse themselves in science, and the lecturers who support them in that effort. And this is a claim that is backed up by impressive figures, Katrin. Thank you. We've already heard a great deal about figures today, impressive figures to be exact. Now we'd like to go a little further. We'd like to provide you with a few examples from our day-to-day work and give you a little more insight into what drives us, because with over 53 students, one of the great challenges of the TUM Center for Study and Teaching is not just about managing mass processes, but organizing them properly. And we've tried to visualize this a little. Let's start at the beginning of the student life cycle. At the beginning of every degree program is your application. Many of you will still remember this step. This year, 42,000 persons applied for a degree program at TUM. If you were to ask the applicants to line up one after the other to form a large queue of human people, it would stretch from here, from the Academicus, almost to the Starnberger See, the Starnberg Lake. So that's quite remarkable. Well, queuing is no longer what you do at TUM when you apply. You can do it online. You can apply at any time of day or night. And above all, you can apply from anywhere in the world. And this is what people do. In 2024, we received applications from 161 countries. In addition, the student information team answers around 50,000 email inquiries every year and accepts around 22,000 telephone calls. That's the equivalent of about 75 days on the phone. Of course, that's not the work done by a single person, it's the work done by a powerful team. But let me share with you a few more figures. In 2024, our colleagues from the enrollment application department issued 20,000 student cards, and that soon will be a thing of the past too, because we're also going digital here and we're going to switch to an app. We're also taking care of the legal framework and the quality of what are now 180-degree programs. And yes, then there are also the 28,000 Instagram followers who we regularly provide with information about studying and teaching. At some point, you will have finished your studies, you will have reached the end of your degree program, and then you will be one of the 10,000 graduates who completed their studies in the last year. This is where our office comes into play and creates the final documents. And nowadays, such a portfolio doesn't just include the certificate and diploma, it also contains the transcript, does diploma supplement, and even more documents. Now, if you were to hang all these documents from all 10,000 graduates on a washing line, then ChatGPT actually told me that you could actually install it 3.5 times around the middle ring road. Quite a lot of paper. That's why we're thinking about digitizing this process and exploring the possibility of digital final documents or graduation documents. But we have more figures. You already heard a lot of figures today, but I think now it's the time to put faces to these figures, because it's not the numbers that count, it's not the processes, it's the people behind them, our great dedicated colleagues from the Center for Study and Teaching, and would like to give them a voice now.
Echte Studierende, echte gute Laune. Sie alle haben uns erzählt, warum sie gern an der TUM studieren. Dafür braucht es nicht nur engagierte Lehrende, sondern auch eine ganze Menge Leute in der Verwaltung. Was machen die eigentlich, wenn sie nicht gerade vor dem Audimax herumirren? Wie tragen sie dazu bei, dass die Studierenden an der TUM gut studieren können?
Ja, wir sind erstmal vor dem eigentlichen Studium wichtig für Bewerbung und Immatrikulation, aber auch während des Studiums kommen die zu uns.
Wir sind vom Team Qualitätsmanagement und wir klopfen in regelmäßigen Abständen die Qualität von Studiengängen ab.
Ich hole konkret das Feedback von den Studierenden ein. Diese Info geht wieder in den Studiengang rein und damit wird der Studiengang besser gemacht.
Wir sind das Team Studieninformation. Wir haben mit ganz diversen Zielgruppen zu tun, viele internationale Studierende und wir sind so das allererste Gesicht, das die Leute an der TUM wahrnehmen.
Graduation Office and Academic Records. Wir sind für die Prüfungsplanung, für die Erstellung der Abschlussdokumente und Prüfungsbescheide zuständig und digitalisieren immer mehr.
Ich bin im Team Explore TUM. Wir richten unsere Programme an Studieninteressierte. Meine Aufgabe insbesondere ist die Mädchenförderung an Schulen.
Wir sind vom TUM CSD Planung und analysieren die Zahlen von der TUM.
Wir sehen jedes Jahr, wie sich die Zahlen entwickeln.
Wir von der Rechtsabteilung tragen zu einem gut gelingenden Studium bei, indem wir für einen Rahmen der Verfahren sorgen, der allen Chancengleichheit und Gleichbehandlung gewährleistet.
Ich bin im Team Communications. Wir kommunizieren, was man bei uns studieren kann. Wir machen das in Videos, in Bildern auf der Website, bei Events, die ganze Bandbreite. Die Orientierung ist nicht ganz leicht zu finden und die versuchen wir zu bieten. Das ist unser Anspruch.
10 von rund 120 Stimmen aus dem TUM Center for Study and Teaching, kurz CST.
Well, as you can see, you don't have to be afraid of the administration, because here we have open-minded, committed people who work here and who want to support you in your concerns. And these there are efficient processes and good cooperation that are needed to harmonize these demands with everyday requirements. Students, you will find all the information you need on our website so that your journey through the administration will hopefully an easy one. And if you can't find what you're looking for, hopefully you'll find the contact details of a person that can help you and get you where you need to go. What is important to us is that people work here for people. As much as we are committed to digitalization, you might have heard that before, and we hope for support from AI now. But still, now in the future, people make the decisions with an understanding of your situation in an effort to find the best solution for you. So together we're looking forward with confidence to the challenges that are lying ahead, which certainly will not become any smaller, but we're going to tackle those together and resolve them with heart and mind. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Yes, about 3 weeks ago, at the TUM Awards dinner, we already had the opportunity to honor a large number of personalities who have made a very special effort for TUM this year. And we will now take a look at them in a very short clip before we then go on to listen to one of our international guests today. So let's roll the clip.
Ich glaube, unser ganzes Zusammenleben, unser Zusammenarbeiten basiert ja auf Wertschätzung. Also ohne Wertschätzung meiner Ansicht nach keine Motivation und ohne Motivation keine guten Arbeitsergebnisse. Daher Wertschätzung ist der Kern von allem.
Es ist natürlich ein großes Lob für meine Arbeit, für die Arbeit meines Teams. Es ist natürlich wichtig, dass wir die richtigen Professorinnen und Professoren gewinnen und freue mich, weil es eine bedeutende Aufgabe ist, die auch zum Wohle der TU tagtäglich erledigt werden muss.
Für Diversität sind Vorbilder super wichtig. Deswegen nehmen wir die Studentinnen mit zu den Schulbesuchen, damit sie den Schülerinnen ein Vorbild sein können und ihnen zeigen können, dass die Informatik unabhängig vom Geschlecht ist. Ich fühle mich sehr geehrt, dass ich diese Auszeichnung bekomme. Ich bin aber der Meinung, dass das selbstverständlich ist, dass man sich für Diversität und für Inklusivität einsetzt.
Ich bin ganz gespannt, wen ich heute hier so treffe und kennenlerne und auch Heilbronn hier repräsentieren darf und ein bisschen Werbung machen kann, auch für unseren Standort. Ich unterstütze Doktorandinnen und Doktoranden in ihrer Promotion, weil das die Zukunft unserer Wissenschaft ist. Für mich bedeutet die Auszeichnung was ganz Besonderes, weil das bedeutet, dass mein Team sehr glücklich ist.
Ich fühle mich jetzt ein bisschen geschmeichelt, dass ich stellvertretend für meine ganzen Kollegen, Ausbilder, die Medaille kriege. Die Ausbildung finde ich sehr wertvoll. Der Stellenwert wird immer höher, weil wir ja immer schlechter Fachkräfte gewinnen können. Gott sei Dank werden wir von der Hochschulleitung, Präsident und Kanzler unterstützt, damit wir auch wirklich eine gute Ausbildung machen können.
Diese Ehrung bedeutet mir sehr viel, weil die TU München mir große Chancen in experimenteller und klinischer Forschung geboten hat. Für mich liegt aber auch eine große Bedeutung darin, dass ich jenseits meiner Emeritierung weiter mich engagieren darf in neue Bereiche, die mir für die Zukunft der Techno-Societies enorm wichtig sind, Stichwort Nachhaltigkeit.
Thank you very much. There are really many great people are with us. Now we come to an international guest. Where is he?
Okay. So now let me switch to English. We want to give recognition to a really excellent scientist, in particular also successful science manager, and for many years a truly reliable supporter of our engagement, of our growing presence on the Singapore campus, Professor Lam King Yong. Professor Lam King Yong holds the President's Chair in Mechanical Aerospace Engineering and has been serving since 2014 in different roles as Vice President of the Nanyang Technological University, NTU in Singapore. He has received his Bachelor in Mechanical Engineering at Imperial College London, then went to the United States at MIT for his Master and PhD, and thereafter he completed an advanced manufacturing program at Harvard. More than 300 publications, more than 12,000 citations demonstrate the originality and creativity of his research, with special emphasis on computational mechanics, computational nanoscience, and multi-scale simulations. And he has received numerous awards, among them most prestigious, the Science and Technology Medal of the Singaporean President. For more than 15 years, Professor Lam has been a sustainable advocate of our presence in Singapore, and a valuable advisor and supporter of TUM through our education branch, TUM Asia, and our research branch, TUM Create. He was instrumental in starting and promoting the master course in aerospace engineering jointly offered by NTU and TUM at TUM Asia from 2009 on. And Professor Lam supported the joint TUM-NTU PhD agreement in 2010. He was essential for establishing TUM as one of the 3 initial partners of Singapore's Create initiative, TUM besides MIT and ETH Zurich. He supported TUM Create's research projects, including, for example, the Electromobility in Megacities project, funded for 10 years with about 80 million euros. And since 2018, Professor Lam, it's a pleasure that we both are able to co-chair the governing board of TUM Create. And thanks to the generous offer of NTU leadership and really your personal engagement, Professor Lam, parts of TUM Asia will move on to the NTU campus next year. And without any doubt, this close proximity of TUM Asia and NTU will catalyze even a further and closer collaboration between TUM and NTU, who just became our latest flagship partner just in the summer. Dear Professor Lam, your foresight and dedication were instrumental in building trusted bridges between TUM and NTU, but also between Singapore and Germany as a whole. Your generous support enabled us to jointly pioneer, that was the idea, globalization of future workforce education through combining German engineering with Asian ingenuity and an entrepreneurial spirit. And today, we want to recognize your outstanding achievements. On behalf of the entire university, it is my honor and pleasure to bestow the title Honorary Senator to you. Now I would like to ask you to come on stage, Professor Lam. Oh, congratulations. And well deserved. Let me read it. The Technical University of Munich hereby confers this certificate by virtue of the rights granted to it based on the resolution of the Senate under the chairmanship of Professor Dr. Tim Büte, Professor Lam King Yong, in recognition of his work in successfully establishing and developing joint research and teaching programs in Singapore, the title Honorary Senator. Congratulations. And I hand that over to you. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. You want to say thank you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Now take this one.
Thank you, President Hofmann, for your kind words. This award would not have been possible without the strong support from President Hofmann, President Emeritus Herman, Professor Schlickman, and Dr. Wechter, and many colleagues from both NTU and also from TU Munich. Our connection with TU Munich actually started 20 years ago. And just a few months ago, President Hofmann was in NTU to celebrate these 20 years of partnership. And I look forward to 20 more years of partnership. It's not just about joint master education, about research, but research leading to link up with industry, which I think is the DNA of TU Munich as well as of NTU. And finally, to have successful startup, the enterprise part. And actually, I was very impressed with the presenter on her experience, failing many times, for the startup. And so my words to all the students here is that never give up. Even if you fail, try again and you'll be successful next time. Thank you.
I take that one here. Thank you. So, nun gibt es noch 3 Auszeichnungen. Einmal der TUM Entrepreneur.
Now there are 3 awards, the TUM Entrepreneur of Excellence Award, which will be presented by Claudia Preuss, and Vice President Gerd Kram and Juliane Winkelmann are then going to award the Leibnitz Medal, and Vice President Werner Lang is then going to present the TUM Sustainability Award. Thank you very much. And now I think we're going to start with Claudia Preuss. Exactly.
We are the only company that has industrialized MRI in the world.
Mit der MRT haben wir die Möglichkeit, in Objekten reinzuschauen, ohne sie manipulieren zu müssen.
My name is Miguel Molina, co-founder and CTO at Orbem.
Mein Name ist Mariela Paridu, ich bin einer der 3 Gründer von Orbem GmbH.
Orbem is a deep tech company. We really want to have a positive change, and we do this through technologies.
Unsere Idee war es, die erste KI-basierte MRT-Technologie zu entwickeln, die außerhalb der Medizin zum ersten Mal und in industriellem Umfeld zu anwenden.
We're a spin-off of the Technical University of Munich. We started there doing our PhDs in different fields, very complementary.
Es gibt 2 Bereiche in der Geflügelindustrie und der eine Bereich ist fokussiert auf die Fleischproduktion und der andere Bereich auf die Eierproduktion. Das bringt natürlich die männlichen Tiere in eine sehr unvorteilhafte Lage, da die weder Eier produzieren können, noch geeignet für die Fleischproduktion sind. Und somit müssen die aus der Produktion raussortiert werden. Und dann ist es natürlich nicht mehr notwendig, diese Tiere zu töten.
We have access to all the resources that the TU gave us, access to laboratories, access to MRI equipment. That definitely helped us to build the foundations of what the technology is today.
Die Auszeichnung für Entrepreneur of Excellence ist natürlich eine große Ehre. Das macht uns sehr stolz, das macht mich sehr stolz.
The prize for us means growth. It helped us to position in the European and German startup scene.
Es motiviert uns, weiterhin unser Bestes zu geben und neue Ziele zu erreichen.
And attract talent that is fundamental for us to continue delivering value and positive, impactful applications into the world.
A wonderful good day to you. It is a great pleasure for me to present the TUM Entrepreneur of Excellence Award. With this award, we honor outstanding founders of the Technical University of Munich, who have not only turned their ideas for a startup into reality with outstanding commitment, tireless dedication and a wealth of ideas, but who are now also supporting the next generation of founders, acting as role models and sharing their experience and ideas in direct dialogue. You've just met the startup that is being honored today, Orbem, and I think it is impressive to see how this technology makes it possible to make things visible that were previously invisible, with the corresponding consequences. I am therefore delighted to honor the team and present them with the Entrepreneur of Excellence Award. There's Maria Laparidu, Pedro Gomez, and Miguel Molina. Congratulations to all of you. So that award is so heavy, I'm not going to try and hand it over to you now. I'm holding it for you because together we're strong, right? All the best. Thank you very much. It is a great honor for us to receive this award. 4 years ago, we stood here, right here, on the occasion of the Dies Academicus. Back then, we were invited as a young startup that had just been founded on the basis of loads of dreams, big ambitions, and many challenges ahead of us. It is very encouraging and also a great relief to again be able to stand here, but this time with facts, Facta non verba. We've managed to actually deliver and build what we had planned and promised back then. We still have some plans ahead of us. But for now and here, thank you very much for the great honor and also for the great support that we've received from the university so far. Here's to many more years and collaborations with the university. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All the best.
Jetzt aber.
Mein Name ist Enkeleda Kasnetzi, ich bin Professorin für Human-Centered Technologies for Learning.
Ich bin Tina Seidel, Professorin für pädagogische Psychologie.
Mein Name ist Christian Fleiderer, ich bin Professor für Experimentalphysik. In unserer Forschung geht es letztlich um Materialeigenschaften, die langfristig neue Perspektiven eröffnen in den Informationstechnologien und in den Quantentechnologien. Die Technische Universität München ist international der einzige Ort, an dem diese Kombination von Möglichkeiten existiert, diese Materialien einerseits herzustellen und auch dann in Laborexperimenten zu untersuchen und andererseits dann direkt hier auch mit Neutronenstreuung die mikroskopischen Eigenschaften dann wirklich herauszufinden. Ich freue mich sehr über diese Auszeichnung und empfinde das wirklich als eine große Anerkennung, aber nicht nur für mich, sondern auch für das ganze Team, mit dem ich zusammenarbeiten darf. Das ist ein großes Privileg.
Das EdTech Center an der TUM bündelt alle Initiativen im Bereich Bildungstechnologien an einer zentralen Stelle.
Unser Ziel ist es, die Innovationskraft der TUM im Bereich der Bildungstechnologien weltweit sichtbar zu machen. Insbesondere kann die TUM mit dem TUM Center for Educational Technologies Impulse setzen, wie man generative KI beispielsweise in der Bildung, beim Lernen und Lehren auch bestmöglich integrieren kann. Diese Auszeichnung ist eine besondere Ehre. Sie würdigt unseren Einsatz.
Und es ist schön zu sehen, wie Sozialwissenschaften, in dem Fall psychologische Forschung, gut mit technologieorientierter Forschung zusammenarbeiten kann und dadurch auch ein Mehrwert entsteht. Und insofern, da mir die TUM sehr am Herzen liegt, freue ich mich dann natürlich sehr darüber, über die Anerkennung.
Yes, with the Heinz Maier-Leibnitz Medal, TUM honors personalities in recognition of their outstanding scientific, technical or medical achievements, with which they have rendered outstanding services to the university in their role as teachers and researchers. Professor Tina Seidel holds the chair of Educational Psychology at the School of Education. As you've seen, she conducts research into digital educational technologies such as video and meta-analysis in school. Professor Enke Leder is a professor for human-centered technologies for learning at the School of Social Sciences and Technology. Her research focuses on technologies such as multimodal interaction and tools such as virtual and augmented reality. Now, I'll start with these two. We are awarding the Heinz Maier-Leibnitz Medal, TUM's highest scientific honor, to Tina Seidel and Anke Leder-Kasnetzi for their outstanding research in the field of digital teaching and learning, and their committed and dedicated work in establishing the TUM Center for Educational Technologies. Congratulations.
Dann noch viele Bilder. Gut. I can hold it for you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Members of the Executive Board of the University, President Thomas, a member of the Executive Board, told me the other day that the TUM, Dies Academicus, is very much like an Oscar ceremony. I'll give it a try, but we're going to do without the standing ovation. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for believing in the Educational Center and in this idea. Even before there was ChatGPT, and the release of ChatGPT catapulted us into a pole position. So TUM, again, is a pioneer and driving force, so to speak. And the whole setting would not have been possible in a non-interdisciplinary setting. That is why I'd like to thank my colleague and co-director, Tina Seidel, the Executive Board, and the team of the EdTech Center. And I'd like to give special thanks to my chair, a truly international team of people who has erased the word no from their vocabulary. They're truly engaged and passionate, and there are various mission and outreach activities. And I'd like to thank to the IT Stiftung Westlingen, the Roland Berger Foundation, and the other funding organizations that have not only financed our research projects, but also made it possible for many children, teachers, young and adult learners, now over more than 1,000 people, to use the tools that we have developed on a daily basis and thus test how collaborative learning with AI can succeed. And last but not least, a big thank you to my husband, who is sitting here too, well, for the joint efforts and the tireless support and the joint success of many TUM projects. Because as a TUM married couple, you may be familiar with this, at least some of you might know that this means if you share the suffering, then you only need to suffer half of it, and shared joy actually doubles your joy. So thank you very much to you and to all of you for the good times. Thank you very much. I can only agree to that. First of all, a big thank you to you, Enkeleder, for this great collaboration. You freshly arrived at TUM, you rolled up your sleeves and rolled it out and breathed life into this. To perhaps stick to the metaphor used by the minister, it's nice to work in this TUM village. I don't know how you feel about educational technologies, because every day we have so many experience of how this is finding its way into this area, be it that our children finally have some Wi-Fi they can use in schools, and maybe even a tablet, so that you can use an AI-based, customized app to brush up on your foreign language skills in summer. For me as a psychologist, it's always very interesting to see how people deal with these technologies, how they experience them, and this influences their behavior. And if people understand this intuitively and experience this as a valuable contribution for themselves, then this will also be applied. And when it's used, then these applications are optimized and improved again. And this is how we best cooperate psychologically and technologically. And at this point, I believe progress is made in this world when people and technology come together well. I would like to thank the Executive Board for giving us the opportunity to be an example of how this human-centered approach can be put into practice, specifically at TUM. Thank you once again for all your trust and all the support over the past few years. I'd like to thank the Executive Board. All in all, it's been a pleasure working with all of you for so many years. I'd like to thank the Vice President, Claudia Preuss, who took us under her roof in the IR3. Thanks also to the team, our small, fine team in the EdTech Center. I cannot really see you in the spotlight right now, but they're waving their hands. I'd like to thank the members of the Executive Board, our sponsors, and all of my team members, because research is not a solo enterprise either. I'd like to thank all my cooperation partners in research, and last but not least, I'd like to thank my team, because it's simply a pleasure to be able to research and teach with you with so much curiosity, dedication, and care. So thank you very much. Mr. Pfleiderer, in recognition of your outstanding research in the field of experimental solid-state physics, your great commitment to the implementation of the TUM Center for Quantum Engineering, and your role as scientific director of the research neutron source Heinz Maier-Leibnitz, you were anonymously nominated for this award by the executive board of the university. It is a great honor for me to present the Heinz Maier-Leibnitz Medal, the highest scientific award of the Technical University of Munich, to you, Professor Pfleiderer.
Herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Congratulations.
Herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Congratulations. And the medal to go with it. Thank you very much. Yes. I'm very pleased about this award. First and foremost, as a recognition for our field of work. And then, in particular, also in recognition of all my colleagues and the employees with whom I have the honor of working in the various areas. I'll keep it very brief. I'm particularly pleased about this award also because it somehow reflects that there is great support, and of course there are those many pieces of advice, but above all there's the great trust placed in us by the executive board. Thank you very much for that.
Die Gesellschaft möchte ja nachhaltiger werden. Da denke ich, ist unsere Aufgabe in der Landschaftsplanung, Räume zu schaffen, die es ermöglichen, nachhaltiger zu leben. Ich heiße Stefan Pauleit und ich leite seit 2009 den Lehrstuhl für Strategie und Management der Landschaftsentwicklung an der TU hier in Weihenstephan. Wir beschäftigen uns mit der Landschaftsentwicklung von Kulturlandschaften, von ländlichen Räumen und von städtischen Räumen. Und wir versuchen, Konzepte und Strategien zu entwickeln, um diese Landschaften nachhaltiger zu entwickeln. Das heißt, sie sollen die Biodiversität fördern, Erholungsräume für den Menschen bereitstellen, sie sollen für den Klimawandel gewappnet sein und gleichzeitig sollen sie die immer intensiver werdenden Nutzungsansprüche der menschlichen Gesellschaft an diese Räume erfüllen. Wir haben uns sehr intensiv in unseren Forschungsprojekten mit der Stadt München beschäftigt und wir haben festgestellt durch Klimasimulationen, dass man, wenn man den Grünanteil von ungefähr 10% Flächenanteil auf 25% erhöhen würde, dass man dann diese Stadt klimaangepasst machen könnte. Und das wäre meine Vision, das noch zu sehen. Also wir haben gesagt, 2050 ist der Zielhorizont und das zu erleben, das wäre schon ein Traum von mir. Es freut mich unwahrscheinlich, dass ich diesen Preis erhalten habe. Wir sind ein großes Team hier, das wirklich interdisziplinär und auch transdisziplinär mit der Stadt München und anderen Städten zusammenarbeitet. Und so sehe ich das als eine Auszeichnung für ein ganz großes Team, eine ganz große Gruppe hier.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to be standing up here. It is a great honor for me to present Professor Dr. Stefan Pauleit, in particular with the Sustainability Award of the Technical University of Munich. This honor underlines his decades of commitment and pioneering work in sustainable landscape planning and urban ecosystems management. Stefan Pauleit is one of the leading figures in the field of green infrastructure and nature-based solutions, which are essential for adapting our cities to climate change. His research provides groundbreaking findings for climate-resilient urban development, is not just only of the highest scientific caliber, but also of practical relevance, because you actually enable cities to translate sustainable strategies into reality. As the director of the Center for City, Nature and Climate Adaptation and spokesperson of the DFG Research College Urban Green Infrastructure, Professor Pauleit is training the next generation of experts to enable cities to drive sustainable strategies into reality, which will drive forward integrative and sustainable urban planning. His tireless work has proven that sustainable solutions cannot only be environmentally friendly, but also socially just and economically viable. His achievements inspire us to tackle the challenges of our time with courage, innovation, and responsibility. I'm delighted, Stefan, that we're able to present you with this award today. Congratulations on my behalf on this truly well-deserved honor. Congratulations. And very important, there's also a check that is being presented here, which is meant to help you get on with your work in the spirit I mentioned. All the best. Micro is coming. Yes, Werner, thank you very much for this honor. Of course, I would also like to thank the Executive Board and the President for helping to recognize the work we do at Weihenstephan. Of course, first and foremost, it is the achievements of the team members that is quite clear. They should actually be standing up here. And it would not be possible to carry out such a wonderful work if we did not work together as a wonderful team. At the School of Life Sciences at Weihenstephan, which really supports me, or rather supports our chair, which time and again inspires us, because we have an interdisciplinary field of research here. And of course, this goes far beyond Weihenstephan. We also work very closely with colleagues at other schools of the TU Munich. That is always an incentive for us, always an inspiration to cooperate with our colleagues. There is no other way to solve the problems of urban development on which we focus, but also rural areas, than in such interdisciplinary and thus integrative research projects, which will hopefully then also show the corresponding possible solutions for practice or practical applications. Some time ago, I had the honor of sitting on an expert commission on water with other colleagues from the Technical University of Munich, which was convened by the Bavarian government. And it clearly showed the problems that we face if we want to manage water better in the future, whether it's flash floods or dry periods. And that is only possible through a large-scale transformation of the landscapes, and this also applies to cities. These are huge challenges, and I'm looking forward to working in this field in the future. This kind of research would not be possible if it were not for the constant pragmatic support of energetic sponsors, and I'd like to particularly thank the Bavarian State Ministry for the Environment and Consumer Protection, which has supported us at the Center for City, Nature and Climate Adaptation for more than 10 years for many projects and really persistent funding. And finally, the German research community should not go unmentioned, who have been supporting us sustainably since 2022 in the research training group on urban green infrastructure. Last but not least, a word of thanks to all the students who keep challenging us in our degree programs. And these are landscape architects, landscape planners, engineers, ecologists, conservationists, sustainable resource management, and what have you. TUM is really a wonderful training center for resource management and all the degree programs we offer. Thank you very much. The check is too big.
To roam. Home is where the heart is, the funny part is, my heart's been right there all along. No more tears and no more sighs and no more fears. I'll say no more goodbyes if trouble beckons me. I swear I'm gonna refuse, I'm gonna settle down and there'll be no more blues. Every day while I am far away, my thoughts turn homeward, forever homeward. I travel around the world in search of happiness, when all my happiness I found was in my hometown. No more blues, I'm going back home. No, no more blues, I'm through with all my wandering now. I settle down and never roam and find a man and make a home. When we settle down, there'll be no more blues, nothing but happiness when we settle down. Be no more blues. Nothing but happiness when we settle down. There'll be no more blues. Nothing but happiness when we settle down. There'll be no more blues. Nothing but happiness when we settle down. There'll be no more blues.
Let's thank the wonderful TUM JazzBand because you simply give this event a wonderful momentum and dynamics every single time. Many, many thanks. Now, this is already the end of the event. I feel a bit like at the Wetten, das TV show because it always takes too long, but I think we're still just in time. Thank you very much to all those who have made a contribution here, provided the equipment, Dora show technology. I would also like to thank the Econ team. You know, that is the largest student careers fair at TUU. That's everyone, those wearing the green ties that always have been supporting us strongly at this event. I would like to say a big thank you to my team in my office who actually help organize and plan this event alongside their other jobs. I think that's worth another huge round of applause because it always works so well. And thank you very much for sticking it out till the very end. We've prepared a little snack and some drinks just opposite in the Immert Hall. I hope you'll join us for those over there. Now let me wish you a hopefully peaceful end to this year, simply a magical pre-Christmas time. Stay in touch with us. Thank you very much for coming and see you soon.